I'm here. She's my sister. She's my friend. Um, and I'm really happy that she's having this session here. I was saying earlier on that this happens to be a very fantastic context in which to do a book review because we're all surrounded by books and things that we can use and, related to critical thinking and all of that good stuff. So without further ado, my job today is very simple, is to introduce a moderator and also to introduce the woman herself, the one that wrote the book. So without further ado, let me introduce Mrs. Ifoma Idigbe. She is a finance and business analyst. Let me just put my reading glasses back on. Let me not try and be cute and be... Okay, sorry. I'm back now. All right. She's a business analyst and consultant and a social entrepreneur. She has worked in executive capacities as executive director and assistant and acting managing director in the Nigerian private and public sectors. Ifoma is passionate about financial and business efficiency in organizations and about developing people. She teaches critical thinking and public speaking to graduate scholars at the Nigerian University of Technology and Management, NUTM, Lagos, and is the founder and executive vice chairman of Boys to Men Foundation. I want to learn more about that. A Nigerian non-governmental organization she started in 2017 dedicated to supporting males to become their best selves and so serve and positively impact the communities in which they live. We need many of that, plenty of that. Okay. She was a delegate to the 2014 National Conference convened to strategize on the way forward for Nigeria and was the vice chairman Committee for Agriculture and Water Resources. Ifoma is a co-founder and founding trustee of youth, gender, and environmentally focused NGOs, which include Women in Management, WIMBIZ, Business and Public Service, WIMBIZ, Green Hub Africa, and the Ovi Brume, did I say that right? Ovi Brume Foundation. All right. She is the chairman of Remita Payment Services Limited. Thank God for Remita. I got my payments. Okay. And Waveline Growth Company Limited, and also serves on the board of other companies, including SunTrust Bank and DO2 Designs. Ifoma loves to philosophize about life and is the author of 3 books herself: Sounds from Silence, musing about men, Random Poems, Monologues and Reflections, and Melodies of My Mind, a collection of poems. She has other various interests, including travel and the collection of Objets d'Art. So please join me in welcoming Mrs. Ifoma. Okay. Fantastic. Let me move on to the next and the star of our show today. All right. Margaret Obiangeli. Did I say that right? Olele. I say it jokingly that I've now made the joke the real way of saying it. So I'm sure I didn't say it right, but she's my sister, she knows. All right. Is currently the Chief Executive Officer, Executive Secretary of the American Business Council, the affiliate of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in D.C. Prior to this role, she was the Corporate Affairs Director for Pfizer in West and East and Southern Africa markets, responsible for public affairs and communication engagements, and for the 3 years led the Access Key Accounts, Tenders, and Institution business in addition to the corporate affairs role. She has over 30 years experience engaging governments in Africa and on behalf of private sector, and 25 years leading experience in the food and pharma industry, traversing government affairs, business development, regulatory, communication, quality management systems, auditing across sub-Saharan Africa. Margaret has provided expertise to government agencies, including the Technical Standards and National Codex, Alimentarios Committees of the Standard Organization of Nigeria, the Vetting and Compliance Panel of Nigerian Advertising Regulatory Agency. More recently, Nigerian Office of Technology Acquisition and Promotion. She has also provided expertise and capacity building advisory to patient advocacy group, chambers, women, trade and industry associations on growth and expansion strategies. Some of these include Africa Pharmaceutical Forum, International Alliance for Patient Association, IAPO Africa, and then AMCHAM, AmCham Cameroon, and WIMBIZ. Margaret hosts the Nigerian Business Council podcast, The Business Exchange, How Business Works, and uses this platform to promote visibility of women leaders, entrepreneurs who are contributing to the different sectors of business and the Nigerian economy. Margaret is a fellow of the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria, the highest award of the advertising profession in Nigeria. She has a BA in English and English and Literature, MA in English, and an MSc in Mass Communication, specializing in public relations and advertising. She gets plenty, she read well. She's an adjunct faculty teaching brand strategy and communication at the Graduate School of Media and Communication for LBS, I think, right? Fantastic. It's not there. I remember. Okay. Margaret has a number of published articles, including Let Us Pray for Patrick Sawyer, To All Hardworking Women Who Stole the Meat from the Cooking Pot, Death, Humankind, and Buchi Emechita. She's married and she has two beautiful young adults. All right, so please help me welcome my sister, Margaret Olele. Hello, Maggie.
Hello.
So I read your book, and one of the things that struck me was that somebody described it as witty and cynical, and I totally agree. I found myself laughing at different parts of the book. And I also think that you have a very self-deprecating humor. You have the ability to laugh at yourself and the things you don't do well. But we'll get to that later. First of all, corals of youth. Why corals? I can understand youth because you started somewhere, but corals, why corals? Corals of youth. How did you come about the name?
First of all, I always say that the book is in the first place for my personal enjoyment.
Okay.
That I'm able to read and kind of go through my past and enjoy just making myself happy. A bit selfish, I would say, but that's the starting point. And so to your question about why corals of youth, I know that for most cultures in Nigeria, especially from where I come from, which is the Inwani culture of Delta State, the coral beads are revered. They're not, between the coral beads and then the elephant tusks, they're typically used for things that have to do with life and death and celebration, right? And life itself is a celebration. And so while talking about the different aspects of my existence, strung together by beads, but those kind of beads are not just the plastic beads or the bottles, beads from bottles, but they're from corals, from something that's very revered, because every aspect of life, every aspect of the life I depicted in the work is important to me, and it's very significant to not just me being a metaphor for the stakeholders and the people and those who lived around when I lived and all. So it's for me. Corals remains very important. Corals depict culture, but also depict life. Depicts the different essence of of my existence strung together by some string or whatever it is, and tells that story.
Okay, thank you. One of the things that I found amusing as well is when you talked about when you're empty nesting, an empty nester, and you were talking to your daughter about what would you do, and she says to you, "Keep busy, write a book." It's so funny because that's exactly what Maggie would have said herself. Her daughter is very very plain talking like that, and but the other thing as well is what it does is when people speak to you like that, it stops you from crying. And so my next question then would be, how come you remember so much? Did you keep a diary? Are you an elephant? Because elephants don't forget.
So first of all, I'll go to my daughter, who incidentally has my name, Margaret, and I'm sure. Some years back, she was on one of those panels. She says her mind as it is. I remember once we had this thing in church, and she was like, I don't understand why my mom will come back from church, and then she goes and puts on the WTN as a Catholic channel, as if it's not enough that you're back from church. And she said it right in front of everyone. So she's that person who tells you her mind, and that's very helpful because it guides you in what to do. And the little secret I never shared, maybe my sister Lizzie would remember. When I dropped her off the first time, I had to drop her off in Canada for 12th grade. I remember coming back because we stayed over at Lizzie's place in Canada. And I recalled, I came back and I felt very ill. And I was like, I had this back with her. And Lizzie turned to me and said, "Are you sure it's not because you just dropped off your daughter and suddenly you find out that there's nothing?" And yeah. So to some extent, those things are realistic, and this is a good therapy for those who are going to be in my situation, or those who already begin to think about it if you have the writer's bug in you. And so, just thinking about why do I remember so much is amazing. I think I've always said from the age of 4. I kind of seem to remember everything that happened to me, and it's really, and you're not the first person asking this, by the way, because and it's not just that I remember, I see them. It's almost like I see myself, and I'm sure we'll get back to the language of the book. I see myself in this situation. I see my cousin, who incidentally is in the room, Augusta, who used to take care of the dog, Jackie, because she was the youngest in the house. I see her in her shorts and white t-shirt, and also it's I don't know, it's so weird. I never kept the journal. Interestingly, the journal thing started after my university. Maybe I guess I couldn't remember as much anymore, but it's something that I think it's about the weakness of one's existence, right? The fact that you don't want to forget something that means so much to you. I think it has to do with that. Quite frankly, I need to find out myself.
It's unusual to remember certain kinds of details, which you definitely reference in the book. Talk about growing up in a household full of people, the family dynamics. Your house was just open to everyone. How did that influence you? I mean, and your own choices. You grew up in Abuja, you live in BGC now, and that's a very, you don't know your neighbor kind of environment. Whereas here, you grew up with lots of family members coming and going consistently. How did you feel about that? And how did it influence how you choose to live your life thereafter?
I would say it was really a blessing to live in Abuja. Interestingly, one of the people who our neighbors there, Professor Kayode Ojedokun, he is a VC at one of the universities in Rwanda, and I saw he posted something. I said, "Oh, this was really," because she talked about myself, my twin sister, and my brother. So we had people. I mean, they were born in the UK and they came back, and their father was teaching at the University of Lagos, passed on, and then they eventually had to leave. And so it was a mixed grill environment, and that gave some kind of wholesomeness in terms of experience and understanding life, because you had people who lived in one room houses, but we didn't think of people based on what their parents were or the clothes they wore, the clothes they didn't wear. Oh, we're just, it's like, what can you get from X? How can we work together? And that's almost childish, selfless, not thinking about class and all, really informed, and also not even thinking about, oh, where is this person from, or because it was a potpourri of different cultures and all. It was a great place to grow, and it gave me the kind of fecundity of existence. So I don't know going this extreme, but yeah, this is the way I feel that just giving me that rich sense. When you think I remembered once my daughter, we moved into VGC when my daughter was 1, and so went to at the age of like 5, we went somewhere, and she saw open gutter, something obviously that's not in VGC. And she was wrinkling her nose and like, open, and I'm like, what is wrong with this one? This is me that can, buy body,
this is
buy
reality.
Our body by the roadside.
Yes. I laughed and laughed. The escapades with Lizzie. It was too much. 2 of you, a character. Just gra. And so it brings me to the immediate family dynamics. Is she a favorite sister? And what was the relationship when you were growing up, all of you?
Those who know Lizzie and I would sometimes even imagine we were twins. I mean, I didn't even notice until I started looking at the pictures that even while we were in secondary school, we were wearing the same clothes, and we didn't find it unusual, So we're very close, right? Growing up, Lizzie was like, she's just a year older than me, but she'd always make everyone think that, oh, my baby sister. If she was, I'm sure she's probably just like, I wish I was here type of thing.
Maybe
Anyway,
you should use this one, and let me have that one.
Okay.
Because I don't speak as often.
Yeah. So she was, she was quite like frail looking, but very, very strong. I mean, she was very good at beating up guys, by the way. And she felt it was her birthright to protect me. So we had that relationship, right? So we're very close. We're very close. We went through the same schools. Even when we were at the university, she made sure that she got my dad to start giving her my pocket money, because she reported me that Maggie wasn't spending her money. I wasn't eating well. That I would go to buy eggs instead of buying chicken. Yes. And so she, anyway. But I mean, bottom line is we're quite close, and it was in such a way. My brother and my sister, my oldest sister, who I'm sure
we'll talk about,
were closer, because it's like there was just 1 year between them, and Lizzie and I had 1 year between us, and between Lizzie and my sister was like 3 years or so. So that's how the family structure kind of. Lizzie was very close. We're very close, but my late brother, we're all close to him, but obviously at some point he was closer to my eldest sister. Yes.
There are a lot of cultural nuances and a lot of folklore in the book. And I remember when you're talking about tales by moonlight sort of stories, and tales about the tortoise, and also about the Odala tree. How much influence did those stories have on you as a child? Because some of those stories were quite frightening, about things that would happen to people who were dishonest or who didn't do this or didn't that. I guess it helps to keep people on the straight and narrow, but how much influence did it have on you, and how much of it did you pass to your children?
For me, I think those. I mean, like most of them, I think it means you're able to, leverage them for future learnings without even knowing that you're imbibing those things. I think the other piece around that, it's that was the beginning of my love for literature, right? Just being able to use imageries and all that to understand what life is and life's experiences and how to do the right things, or at least live an existence, or even understand the culture. Yeah, the superstitions, yes, but understand what these things, and they're very valuable because um, life without understanding one's culture and tradition is it's not it's almost like you have the oil that's spilled in somewhere in the south, just moving on the surface of water and no essence,
Foundation.
right, no foundation. So it's good for me.
So, a slightly difficult question. Reading your book, you talk about many things, but you don't really dwell on the death of your father. And so, as I was reading it, the absence of detail and information led me to accept, indeed, that it had a profound impact on your life. What did the family, how do I put this question? How did it change things for you?
Hmm. That's a tough one, right? So my dad died in my third year in the university, and it was very unexpected. And for somebody who had been very influential in the things that we do, helping with homework, going to study. When they moved to modern mathematics in secondary school, went to University of Lagos to just take some courses just to understand and teach, and even literature. Going through something he did as a minor. And us, both of us, going through one poem called Kubla Khan. If people know about literature, the Kubla Khan is one poem that was written by an author that was under the influence of opium. And we're going through these, and then is very practical understanding of Catholicism that really has made me who I am today, and everything, and really building the essence of who we are, was a real shame. I mean, from the physical eye to see that he wasn't even alive to see who we are today. But I guess that's also the essence of Christianity, right? That there's that brother that is the eyes of the foolish looks like an annihilation,
Annihilation, yes.
and all that. But yeah, obviously, it would have been great to have him around to see how things are, and a shame that he's not there. But I think he also did something that it's almost like he had impacted. It's almost like he had impacted so much in us that in what we're doing, we're just living his life, right? One of those few I recall he did a will, and in his will was everything he wanted us to do, everything he wanted us to be. So it's just living his life, I think, kind of is justifies the fact that he's still living while is gone,
Yes.
right? So as a human being, yes, we do miss him, and it impacted quite a bit in terms of I recall that year was, but that's another story that may come another time. But overall, he had created very strong women, very strong, and I think he'll be very proud. I don't want to say wherever he is because I know where he is,
Yes.
but he's proud of us, right?
Yes. Yes. And so your book ends with you and Lizzie going off to Uniben. It leaves us wanting to know more. What happened? And so, is there going to be a sequel? And why did you end the book there?
Okay. So it took me 5 years. I don't know if you remember my 50th birthday, I referenced Corals of Youth because I'd started writing. I'd done the first 50 pages. I shared with my nephew who's behind here, JD, and a couple of my son Paul, my daughter, just my immediate family, to find, okay, what does this book look like? What do you think and all? But then I kept writing and I kept writing and I was like, look, I had to stop at some point. So I felt that if I had continued with writing, the second, going to the university, that's a completely different life entirely.
Yes.
So yes, I'm going to write a book. I've already started, and there are also as a project I'm going to be working on with an organization to put together short stories with young writers, kind of collaborative work. So that's going to happen, but I am not going to. This is a memoir. The other one is probably going to be like a fictional character, but who had the experiences that I had.
Now, reading your book, I had many moments of nostalgia. Remembering primary school, secondary school, and there were feelings, and a certain sadness for innocence, such as, and experiences of life in many ways. And so I'd just like to, in closing, ask you what you would say about life, your life generally, the life you have lived to date. What would you say, and what are your hopes and dreams for tomorrow?
One thing I found one thing I think a lot of people may be missing out right now is the fact that so I'm not sure how. I mean, young people will probably say they're enjoying life right now, but I think there's this richness of our existence that, especially at the time, I grew, that seems to be lost. And I don't know who told me that, was that my son or someone said, look, I've gone to do a bit of a research on my daughter, and I just cannot find a lot of these kinds of stories. So it's good that these stories are documented, either as a way to make you understand that there was a time in the life of Nigeria that these kinds of things happen. Because I'm looking back and I'm like, look, I have friends who, we all schooled in Nigeria, but we go into any part of the world, and we're extremely competitive. But we schooled in this part of, people even brought their children back to Nigeria as an example. So things were so good, right? Even though mostly it was a military era, right? So it's one life that we need to document to make us understand where we are today, and perhaps where we need to be and how we need to be where we need to be. As a person, it gives me joy, right? Just reading the past, and maybe sometimes like strength for the journey type of thing, and that things can be better, if we are able to study and read leverage the past and understand what the past has been like, and so it gives purpose. It provides really a 360-degree context to every facet of my existence, and I dare say to those who read the book.
So thank you very much, Maggie, for sharing your story. I certainly enjoyed reading it, like I said, and I laughed many times, and I understood the phrasing, like teacher lesson. It was really super. And mouth fights. What's a mouth fight? You really have to understand the context. You're quarreling and trying to.
Especially when the bite is started, that's only that ties.
So, but thank you so much for speaking to me this afternoon. I enjoyed the book, and I would enjoy all of you to get many copies actually, and give your friends. It's easy reading. It's just easy reading. You read it, you laugh.
you forget the difficulties of today, and you remember there was a time when children could play on the street without anybody watching. There was a time when parents paid attention to their children, and they were not just out chasing money. And those are values that we've lost, and we need to find a way to retrieve them. Thank you very much.
Yeah.